Welcome to the Travel Winds podcast. Today, my guests are the special Tara Berlin Joseph and Josh Joseph of Big Plant Holdings. They're based in Nashville, but I love their Chicago background, so that's a good thing. It's the hardworking Midwest kind of work ethic. Uh, so successful with Big Plant Holdings that they've decided to bring in their family and their daughters, which is extremely awesome. How are you guys doing today?
We're doing
We're
well.
good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having us. Much appreciated.
This is going to be a lot to jam in a short time because you have so many companies. I was trying to do my research. I'm like, this isn't going to, I should have written it down. But, Big Plant Holdings is a good name because it's a holding of many, multiple, several companies.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I think we have the elevator pitch down, so hopefully we'll be able to get through pretty efficiently for you.
Well, and then the other thing I really enjoyed and what I'm interested in, you have, I mean, at least on your website is Nashville, Chicago, LA, I think New York. You got a lot of home
Yeah.
bases, a lot of,
Boulder, Colorado.
oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Full
So,
presence there. Yeah.
so that's pretty
I love
cool.
our
Yeah.
and our
Yeah.
music company just went in first time ever. We just signed our first person in London. So now we're overseas too. So it's great.
Oh, sweet. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Edge Hill Music
Yeah.
Yes. Edge Hill
Publishing.
Music Publishing.
Yeah, yeah. We can give you a little, if you want, just like
Yeah,
a little
yeah,
kind of quick snapshot overview. But yeah, so Tara and I are from the Chicago area originally with two daughters who are now 24 and 21. And we transitioned down here. We bought our first home here in March of 2019, so just 5 years ago now,
yeah,
almost to the day probably. And we then started transitioning down here almost full time in 2020. Certainly by 2021, we were here full time, Tara and I. And our girls were in college, and a prior life and an exit of a cannabis company allowed us to move down here and establish Big Plant Holdings, which is our family office, which is based here and headquartered here in Nashville, Tennessee. So we are, yeah, very excited to be in Nashville and embedded ourselves here into the community, pretty significantly. And yeah, just a quick snapshot on BPH. We cover about a half dozen different verticals in terms of industries and areas of investment and focus for our own family's capital, as well as for our investors that we've been very fortunate to have a great investor following for many, many years, and that has expanded as well. But we're involved in hospitality, we're involved in professional sports, music and entertainment. We're involved in fashion. We are involved in commercial real estate. We're involved in cannabis still. After the exit of our cannabis company, we got back into cannabis a little bit as well, but extraordinarily selective on where we focus on that at this point. And then we have a philanthropic arm called the Joseph Family Foundation. And yeah, Tara and I are super fortunate to have our two daughters working with us as well, and with no strings attached whatsoever. They can go both do their own things, if and when they ever want to. But for the time being, it's been a wonderful few years to provide that platform for them as young women to
sure.
come into the business and expose them to great people and not so great people, and but and just kind of the real way of life, from business and philanthropy.
And you have a podcast.
We do. We have the Big Plan podcast
Yeah.
that really talks about all kinds of things. Same type of thing here, like family, business, like successes, failures, all things life. We bring people in that are part of our life, or different people that are in different industries to talk about who they are. It's really just like it's funny and sad. It's got all the feels, but it's really just about who we are as people and how we built things out how we built out a company.
When you guys have had so many wins that you almost had to bring in your daughters, and that's that's a good spot to be in.
Well, with those wins come some losses,
Oh
A
yeah,
right?
lot of
of
them.
course.
So yeah, a lot of losses as well over the years. But yeah, it's been great to provide a platform for our daughters as two young women up and coming
Yeah.
and in life. Yeah, it's been great.
Have they seen? So I know before 2019, you were based in Chicago doing the cannabis, and I'm sure you were traveling quite a bit for that still. I mean, as large as that.
Oh yeah.
production was.
Yeah, without question. Yeah. Professionally, I've been in commercial real estate. That's been the bread and butter since coming out of college. So I've been in commercial real estate for coming up on 30 years now at this point. And so that really, I've been on the road for that business in that industry forever.
Yeah.
Whether they were day trips or they were 2, 3, 4 days away. Yeah. So a lot of airplane travel, a lot of windshield travel, behind the car, behind the wheel of a car for real estate. And then getting into cannabis in 2014, 15 for 5.5 years, building our first company before we had sold it. Yeah, certainly a lot of time on the road.
So were you retail, office, or industrial? Or
Everything
okay.
actually. Yeah, my foundation in real estate was retail.
Yeah.
So I spent my first 5 years retail focused, only retail, and then I took a job with a newly formed company in 2001, which it was heavily focused on bankruptcy and distressed assets. And so I became agnostic from that point forward in real estate. So yeah, I've had the good fortune of working on every asset class in real estate, buying it, selling it, being liquidating it through bankruptcy processes or court-appointed receivership work in probably 40 plus states at this point
Sure.
that I've been active in.
Our kids kind of grew up going in the car and looking at a lot of distressed properties around the country.
I bet. I was
Yeah.
gonna say there now that makes a lot more sense because when I saw that you bought a parking garage or parking lot for several $1 million on Broadway, I'm like, he had to be your brain had to be thinking of something different because no one drives by a parking lot and goes, yeah, that's worth about 6-7 million.
Nine
Yeah.
9.4 to be exact.
Okay.
He drives around a lot of parking lots and looks at things and goes, yeah, that's got potential. And sometimes in the past, we've looked at him and be like, seriously? And he's like, trust me. But like, he's really got an eye for that. And yeah, there's been multiple parking lots that he looks at and he knows exactly what's going to go there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's it because I worked for Trammell Crow. Um,
You did.
so
Yeah,
yeah, I worked for Grubb and Ellis and then Trammell Crow, and then they were bought by CBRE. I didn't
sure.
want to work for CBRE, so the Trammell Crow president actually went out and started his own development company, and then we went to the AIG crash that destroyed us as a new development company. But
What did you do at Grubb and Ellis and Trammell Crow?
I did mainly industrial, and then
Oh,
when I started working with Trammell and then with the Ruth Group and Bob, it was development. So we were looking at dirt and saying, how much
looking
we
at
could put
dirt.
there.
Yeah. Well, you and I can nerd out another time on commercial real estate stories. I would
Yeah,
And
love that.
dirt.
I could tell you
Yeah,
about the Queen Mary sometime.
would love that.
Trying to get a bid
Love,
on how to clean the Spruce Goose Dome.
Yeah.
would
All,
love
all the
that.
stupid things you never think about.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So it's so cool. It's I'm just curious how do you get involved with how do you go from commercial real estate, raising a family to cannabis?
Yeah, I had two partners at the time. We had started a new real estate company. We were all together at one company, lifted. We were about 4 years into our new company that we had started in the Chicago area. And Illinois had just passed a program, a cannabis medical pilot program in
Yeah.
2014. We started to track it a little bit. We knew some people in California that had been doing it for years, and we decided to just take a shot at it. Our perspective was that it was going to be the next industry,
Yeah.
had a vision, had an inkling, and so we decided to put together a small but mighty team and be very cost effective and cost efficient. A lot of folks that went into it spent a whole bunch of money.
Yeah.
We spent money, but put together a great team. We were very conscious of how to do it and the right team to put in place. And we applied for licenses in Illinois. It was a very competitive process, and our group, there were three of us on one side and then one other guy on his own side. But between the two groups, we applied for 10 medical retail licenses. You're only allowed to apply for up to five each. And we won seven of the 10 in total. And so we won. We were awarded seven of the first 50 medical retail licenses that Illinois had provided for. And so we had the largest market share right out of the gate. And that then was our springboard to, building what we were able to build for 5.5 years.
That's so cool, though. I mean,
Thank you.
that's like you said, it's lightning in a bottle kind of thing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, then you have to like figure out how to open them. So
Oh, I
then comes the next time you get them accepted, and then all of a sudden you look at each other and you're like, "All right, now we really have to go."
Yeah.
my parent
Open.
company is based in Denver, and so I was reading up because they were one of the first ones to go medical too. And yeah, the things that they were talking about on the news was, yeah, the dispensary owners couldn't deposit the cash into banks because it was FDIC, and so they were leaving and getting robbed as they were leaving their dispensaries because
Yeah.
the robbers knew they were going to have large amounts of cash on them. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
so security guards and AR-15s and everything else came out.
Yeah, we had we have a number of stories over the years. Very
Mhm.
fortunately, we never had any issues. We only had one attempted break-in of one of our dispensaries, but yeah, at the end of our run, we were in 12 states, and we went from four of us to approximately 1,200 employees before we sold. And we were very fortunate from a security and safety standpoint not to have any issues. Very, very fortunate from that standpoint. Certainly had banking, challenges
Yeah.
and other challenges, but yeah, from a security standpoint, we were pretty good.
Well, so Tara, as someone raising two daughters at home with a husband that's commercial real estate and then the cannabis and traveling, you had to deal with the day to day, I would imagine.
Yeah, it was a lot. I mean, Josh was very good. I mean, for a long time, when our youngest one was born, he was on the road pretty much like every month for 2 weeks at a time, like
Yeah.
on and off, back and forth, back and forth. So our youngest daughter almost didn't even really know who he was, like for a long time. But what he was very good about, is that he always like made a priority to come back for like if there was a big doctor's appointment, if there was like any kind of parties,
Yeah.
anything that was important, he'd make sure that if he had to take a day trip, he would leave in the morning and come back at night, which was wonderful. But yeah, I mean, like you're used to it. And then his travel had slowed down quite a bit, I would say, over time, because he had basically said, I'll leave money behind, but I need to be home for my family more. And so he kind of walked away from a lot because he ended up saying, there's still travel that he had to do, but not to the degree that he was doing it initially. And as he grew and became higher up in the companies, it was better. I mean, he could actually delegate that more to other people. So, but it's hard. I mean, the kids like know what they know, and you're in a schedule, and then all of a sudden, daddy comes home, and you're kind of like, wait, what? Daddy leaves again. So, yeah, it's real. But like, what are you going to do? Like when you start low man on the totem pole and you're building up in a business, that's just kind of the nature of the business. You have to pound the pavement. You have to go out and network. So,
I kind of equate that to musicians. Musicians travel more than anybody I've talked to on the show, and they have
they do.
families and wives, and the wives don't necessarily want to be roadies, and and
Yeah.
it tends to be
Yeah.
a little difficult on relationships.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's hard. It's
yeah,
challenging.
yeah. It's very challenging. Yeah, there were many, many challenging times. Where I shouldn't say you, where I felt as though, wanting to be as proactive of a husband and father as possible, but at the same time, having to go out and, I chose a career path
Yeah.
that had certain requirements, and even when Tara mentioned travel slowed down a little bit after a couple year run where I was on the road, pretty much all the time. When our younger daughter was born, there was still plenty of travel that was
Yeah.
around, and the job I had for quite a while, for many years, I could be sitting here with you right now, and I could get out of this meeting with you, and I can have an email or a text message or a voicemail saying that I had to be on a flight, that night or the next morning. That's how quickly things were working at the real estate company that I was at, and I needed to be in Norfolk, Virginia tomorrow for a pitch, or needed to be in New York City for a big bankruptcy auction, and didn't know how long I'd be there for, whether it be a day trip or 2 or 3 days. So yeah, so there were yeah, a lot of time on the road. road. Hotels, missed flights, delayed flights, sitting in airports and lounges and all that good stuff.
And travel isn't glamorous. I mean, people think it's glamorous. They think it's great because you're doing all these things, but really, like a lot of times, he would be in hotels or in conference centers and never really leaving the area for the entire time that he was there. So, or in a meeting trying to pitch a deal. So it's you're going from the airport to the hotel to the meeting, staying there all day, maybe grabbing a bite to eat in the meeting and then going off. So it's like it's a very different world. But if you're in sales, that's kind of what you need to do. You're right.
That's
You're
what it
getting your
is.
paycheck to paycheck and you don't know, and you really have to go and you have to find where the work is. So there's not really an option, especially in sales or real estate, when you're real estate across the country.
With that said, there were so many great steak dinners. So
Of course, right. You're getting good steak dinner
Oh,
yeah,
out
there's
of it.
so many great steak dinners and bottles of wine that were passed around. But
Yeah,
uh,
absolutely.
but certainly a lot of time in hotel rooms and at airports.
I kind of came up with the show name because I would always get stressed out when I travel, like 100% commission sales rep. So if I travel to Hawaii and don't sell anything, I'm out a couple grand for
Yeah.
Of course,
you know.
absolutely,
So the
no
whole trip, I'm
question.
thinking I got to sell this much, I got to do this. So I had to come up with ways to not be focused on just how much I need to make. And so
Mhm.
like when I would travel, I was the same way. I'd go to Louisville and so we'd set up a boot barn or whatever, and I'd get them home. And they go, "Oh, did you go to Muhammad Ali Museum?" I'm like, "No." How about the Louisville Bat Museum? I'm like, "No."
No,
So
right.
then I started booking in a half day or whatever. I would book in sometime instead of trying to hit red eyes or whatever. I was like, I gotta see something while I'm here.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting you say that. I actually did the same thing. I adopted as much as I could,
Yeah.
which is actually one of the reasons we landed in Nashville is in 2004, 2005, I forget, Bank of America had hired me to liquidate a restaurant chain, restaurant credit they had that they were pulling the plug on that was based here in Nashville at the time. And so I came down here from Chicago and I had some free time and so I decided that was kind of like one of the first times where I started to like dedicate a little bit of free time where
Yeah.
just go explore, take advantage of the situation that, you're on an airplane or you hop in a car and you're in a new place that you've never been. And I had never been here before. And yeah, started exploring downtown Nashville. And and I remember I had called Tara from Broadway, which is, the epicenter of where everyone comes to go have a good time when they come to Nashville. And, it was very grimy and gritty and dirty back in 2004 or 5, not nothing like it is today 20 years later, but I liked it. It had a really cool character to it and
Yeah.
a really cool vibe and feel to it. And yeah, that was like the kind of the first time I had started, hopping around a little bit. I did some work in Oklahoma City and I did a bunch of work in Oklahoma City and the surrounding areas and a couple of times went to the Oklahoma City Memorial. It sounds kind of weird, but
Oh no.
the whole Timothy McVeigh situation that took place, and I remember walking through there and just different things like that as you go around the country and you kind of look on your phone or on your computer to see what's there and what can I see, right? Other than here for business.
My buddy has a craft beers app on his phone, and he's
Craft
on the
beers, right?
2 to 3 weeks a month. He's on the road, and he
Yeah.
just pulls up, and it actually keeps track of the ones he's been to already.
Yeah,
It's
it's
cool.
great.
So
It's great.
yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot easier today, I think, than
Oh
back
man,
20 years ago, right?
But yeah.
Yeah. I found
imagine this
myself
20 years ago. Jeez.
Yeah.
I found myself, this is a good one for you. I was in Oklahoma with a former partner of mine. On that same project, and we were in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma. So we looked at what we can do because we had about a half a day to burn. We went to, I forget, it was a great little, it was like the best food spot you can go to, a mom and pop shop. And we went to, we were in Anadarko, Oklahoma. I forget exactly how you pronounce it. And we went to the Native American Museum, which
Yeah.
was, if you look it up, it was like one of the coolest things you can do in all of Oklahoma. So we went there. We were in and out of there in about 15 minutes, but we checked the box. So
I
yeah.
got a lot of museums. My wife's like, I'll stop giving you a hard time because like I'm the same way. I'd be like, hey, there's a some roadway museum coming up. You want to stop? Oh, okay.
Yep.
Sorry. We'll do the same
Right.
thing. Could be a
Right.
15-minute little. Oh, that was great.
Right. Yeah, that was great.
But you could say you went.
Yeah, you went.
You were there, checked
Yeah.
it off.
Yeah. Buy a
But
coffee mug and
but if
yeah,
you're
of
Buy
curious
a coffee
about
mug.
things, you know,
Yeah.
I'm always curious. Like, it's just how I am.
course. Of course.
It's like, um, out of all the places you've been to, separately, what's the most influential city or place that you've been to?
You go first.
Um, Well, it kind of depends, honestly. Like, I mean, I personally love Italy, so I mean, we've gone there, and it's actually been interesting. So we took a trip there, which we always wanted to do, to see all parts of Italy. But then we realized we ended up falling in love with it, and actually, the hotel that we stay at now in Capri, Italy, is now a great place that Josh does end up doing work and meeting clients at, because people are hanging at the pool, they're talking about
Right.
businesses, and so like what starts sometimes as a pleasure trip, which is very far and few between because somehow or another business always gets involved in it, but ended up being like a real good thing because we enjoyed ourselves and hung out at the pool. Josh could hang there for all day long, like all day long at the pool that we're at the hotel that we go to. And it ends up, he meets new clients and new people that we can do business with. So I think that's actually one of the better places.
Italy for you?
Italy for sure.
Yeah, interesting. Um, one of the most influential places. Well, I would say, and it sounds kind of weird. That's a great question. I would probably say it's got to be Nashville for me, only because, not only because, but coming back, coming here 20 years ago,
Yeah.
and now to fast forward where, excuse me, Tara and I have planted a flag here with our family office, and we live here, pretty much full time. 70-80% of our time now is spent in Nashville. Nashville, I think, is probably the most influential, both personally and professionally, place for me. After having been all over the country and having the good fortune of being able to travel the world, a decent amount, at least. And this is for a number of reasons, but mostly, you know, we're only here for one spin around the globe, and this will be the spot that has been kind of, that hopefully we'll be able to look back on and will be the platform and the area that is the area to provide the platform for our daughters and the next legacy, the next generation down for our family with
Yeah.
everything that we've been able to get involved in the last few years. So I would say Nashville.
Okay. Well, you can't go wrong since you picked it to live there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Have a nice
true.
day.
Yeah. Absolutely. Good
The
question.
I pre I had a past guest give me that question
Yeah. That's a good
Oh, that's a good
question.
question.
It's a good question.
instead of what's your favorite city you've been to or whatever.
Sure. That's a good question.
Kurt Angle, the WWE wrestler,
Yeah.
said Russia.
Said Russia.
I'm
Why?
like,
What was his reason? Do you
the
remember?
people. He said
The people?
wrestling, amateur wrestling in Russia is like it's football here. He
Hmm.
said, so when I went over there, I was, because he was an Olympic wrestler, Olympic gold medalist and
Hmm.
all that. He was a
Hmm.
superstar over there. And,
Yeah.
he'd come here and be, oh yeah,
Yeah.
you won the
Yeah,
medal. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But over there, he was a superstar. He said the people were phenomenal, though. People treated him
Yeah.
great.
Interesting.
that's right.
So there you go.
Yeah.
So out of the sale, now you have hospitality. So you're building restaurants
Yeah.
and bars on Broadway,
Hmm.
which is kind of the thing, I guess.
Yeah.
What's the background with that?
Yeah. We have three bars and restaurants that we're working on here in Nashville.
Two bars and restaurant. Well, yeah, I
No,
guess. Yeah.
three
Yeah.
bars and
Yeah.
restaurants.
Yep.
Two of the three that are open at this point. We have a Hank Williams Jr. theme bar on Lower Broadway, which is in downtown Nashville. That opened last October. And then we just opened this past weekend, just a couple of days ago, a neighborhood bar restaurant. It'll be a little bit more food centric than bar centric, but certainly it'll be bar centric as well. And that is called Playdate. That's going to cater to the great neighborhood of 12 South in Nashville, the locals, as well as the massive amount of tourism that this neighborhood gets
Yeah.
that comes in here. And then we are opening our big behemoth of a project where we have partnered up and saddled up with John Bon Jovi, with John and his team and crew. and we're opening that up. We're targeting probably around Memorial Day of this year of 2024. So we've been on that project since the end of 2019, top of 2020. So that's been a long haul, but
That's been the one that was like from the ground up. That wasn't an existing building. That one literally
That was
was
the
a
parking
parking
lot.
lot.
Yeah.
Yep.
that was the parking lot you had referenced. Yeah, small little parking lot in downtown Nashville, and yeah, we identified that, Tara and I, at a breakfast meeting with someone, and we're not looking for anything like that at the time, but we just knew it was a great piece of real estate once we saw it, and put it under control and got it under control, and then bought it, fought our way through the pandemic a little bit, if you will,
Yeah.
or a lot of it, and acquired it in October of 2020. And here we are in March of 24 and turning the
Talking about
corner
an
to,
opening.
yeah, man. Yeah. So we're excited about that one.
So if a listener and they haven't been to Broadway in Nashville, you can go there at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday or a Sunday, and there's music, live music on the first floor, the
Yep.
second floor, the third floor, and even
Yep.
sometimes the fourth floor. And
Yep.
they're all really good. And you're like, to me, if I was a musician, I'm thankful I'm not a musician or a singer because I would walk down that street and go, oh, oh, oh,
Yeah.
good. Oh, that girl's good. Oh, that
There's
girl's
a
good.
lot of talent in this city.
A lot of talent. It's
Yeah. A lot of talent in the
it's all
city.
day
And
long.
it is. Yeah. Like you hit it on the head. Yeah. Most places on Lower Broadway open around 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Maybe 11 a.m. at the latest, but between 10 and 11, and we're open until 2 or 3 in the morning. And yeah, like you mentioned, usually you'll typically, depending on the size of the building, you'll have music at least on 2 floors, if not
Yeah.
three floors. And on the busy days, you'll have live music going on every one of those stages, at the same time. On the non-busy days, you may shut down one floor, for example, but you'll still have live music on one or two of the floors if you have 3 stages.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
at nights
it's
they shut the street down.
yeah,
On the weekends.
Yeah.
They
yeah,
have to. There's no way to get through.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, we're coming off of the SEC men's basketball tournament was just here in
yeah,
town this past week, and from Wednesday to Sunday, and this past weekend was extraordinarily busy. And that's really kind of kicks off that's the kickoff, if you will, for the Nashville season now. So we
yeah.
should be pretty darn busy throughout the city, certainly though downtown on Lower Broadway from between now and the end of November, early December.
They call it bachelorette season
I was just
because
going to
they
talk
come in by the
about
truckloads.
it's
Yes.
it's a little bizarre to see if again for all my listeners, you got to go at least once
Yeah.
and just imagine a bus, an open air bus with like 40 women on it screaming. And then sometimes there's poles on there with guys that are dancing for the women,
Absolutely,
and you're like
It's
absolutely.
crazy
It
town.
it's it
jacuzzis and
It,
Yeah.
it's wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they keep coming up with creative the folks here in town keep coming up with creative
yeah,
options
what's
for
next?
tourists. Yeah. So I just saw recently, and I just saw it again a couple of days ago. They now have this you can do like high tea. So you can have there's like a little truck with all glass on the back. So it's glass everywhere, and you're sitting in there and you're having high tea and maybe mimosas and
You know,
some small sandwiches, finger sandwiches and finger food, and
people can
yeah,
watch
next
it.
thing you know, and people watching. Yeah, you're just driving around the city.
It's one of those things. There's nothing like live music, and you have so many
Yeah,
people that you can listen to, and there's so many different places, and so many, like every bar and every location, and you can find music for all kinds of people, all kinds of interest, and the artists, like you said, you go from floor to floor, building to building. Sometimes they'll start in one building, and then the artist will move their way down Broadway and go up and down like every few hours to another bar,
yep,
but like it gives you all the like you can request music, and these artists, all they want is to be discovered, right? That's what they want more than anything. But like you're going in, and when you go in, you're going to see good artists no matter what. The music is good no matter what
everywhere.
floor you're going to, no matter what bar you're going to. And that's so nice because this is a very unique city in itself to be. I mean, it's really called Music City for a reason, right?
Yeah,
So but you don't go to another place or another location where there is live music everywhere,
everywhere.
and you have an endless amount of really talented choices. So it's a really cool experience.
You can stay we stay, I think it was at the Cambria. There's
Uh-huh.
and they had the main floor, then they had the bar, and then they had people outside busking. And you're like, oh
Yeah.
my God,
Yeah.
and it was just a normal hotel. It wasn't even on Broadway. It was like,
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, the airport has it.
yeah,
The airport has live music.
they have good,
So
they have a good Gibson display there too.
They
yes.
do. They
Yeah.
do. They do. Yeah. Yeah. Really unique spot. I don't think I say this quite often. I don't, having traveled a whole bunch, which is
Yeah.
what we were talking about a bunch or a little bit, having been able to travel the country both for business as well as personally, there is no spot anywhere in America. And we're from Chicago, so
Yeah.
you can pick Chicago, New York, LA, San Francisco,
Vegas.
Miami, South
It's a
Vegas
mini
is, yeah,
strip.
to me, Vegas is like a separate and aside from Vegas. I always carve Vegas out of this conversation, or this example,
Yeah.
but because Vegas is its own animal completely. But
Yeah.
But it's not
you know,
condensed.
Key West or South Beach
Yeah.
or New Orleans, at the French Quarter, there is no area that has 1 6 block radius from First Avenue to Sixth Avenue that has 20 million tourists a year as a captive audience, that just provide for this influx of energy and activation. And so anywhere in the in
And
the
then you got
country. So
three professional teams within walking distance.
yeah,
The
yeah, you have the
Predators, the soccer,
Titans.
and then the Titans.
Yeah, yeah, it's been great. All of a sudden, it's a professional sports town and city, and
Yeah.
heavy rumors on one of the two next Major League Baseball teams to land here in the next few years. So
Now international with a soccer club, which is
Yeah.
incredible. Yeah.
yeah,
Which is, I mean, a lot of people, especially Americans, don't understand how big it's like F1, right? Racing. It's
yeah,
like people don't realize
absolutely.
how big F1 is
Yeah,
until
yeah.
you
The
get,
soccer stadium, if you haven't been to it yet,
yeah.
have you been? Have
I
you
haven't
been
been
able
in.
to attend?
I've done. I did a little YouTube tour because I
Yeah,
wanted to see what it was about, but they weren't playing.
yes. Yeah, certainly worth your while
Yeah.
to definitely go see a game there. They did a heck of a job designing that stadium, and they now have concerts. They started concerts last year for the first time. I think they had 5 or 6, and it's a beautiful, beautiful
It's
facility.
gorgeous.
Beautiful facility.
And it's all walking distance. I mean, it's
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
all right
it
down
is.
there.
It is.
We sound
Yeah.
like a commercial for Nashville, which is good for your
We
business.
we did. We're a tourism
Yeah, so
commercial.
yeah, sorry about that. Let's move on from Nashville.
No,
Sorry
no,
about that.
but I think Nashville. It's kind of interesting that the growth of Nashville has allowed you to get in your fashion business with the hat company, right? I
Mhm.
mean, everything kind of spins off that tourism dollar that's down there. Whether it's the hotels, and they're not cannabis legal there yet, but I'm sure you'll do something about that.
Yeah,
You
working
know,
on it.
and obviously the Edge Hill, the music publishing,
Mhm.
that's that's why Nashville's Nashville. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of fortuitous that you all moved there and everything that you're growing.
Yeah, it's very it intertwines, it weaves into each other, and
Yeah,
there's always like this road that leads back to Nashville where it all kind of comes together, but obviously the branches go in many different directions. But yeah, I mean, like when you're talking about music and our customized hat company, yeah, we get people want a Nashville experience.
sure.
Not and so when they have that, part of the charm is it's almost like that Disneyland approach or Disney World. When you go to Disney World and you get there and you want everything Mickey, and so you're like, I want that. So people come to Nashville and
It's
they
so
want their boots
true.
and their cowboy hats, and it's the Disney World approach. And so we are able to do that. We have that like the music industry base. We have these great food and beverages. We have, at at our hospitality companies. Then we have this customized cowboy hat company. So like when you're coming to Nashville, it's almost like our company gives you an entire Nashville experience.
I
That's
would say,
that's the
I
big
would
plan
say
right there.
that
It's the
is the
big
big plan.
plan.
I would also say that, to get out of Nashville a little bit for the conversation here, we are heavily involved in Los Angeles. We have partners in Los Angeles, so we travel, back and forth to LA a few times a year at this point. That will continue to pick up. We have partners on the music and entertainment side of what we do, on the professional sports side of what we do over in LA, on the cannabis side as well. We have partners over in New York. We have a presence in Boulder. We have a small office actually in Los Angeles, small office in Boulder, a presence in Chicago as well. Still, that we remain connected there. Yeah, we're down in Miami. We have connectivity and business that we do down in Miami and South Florida.
Did you say Chicago? Because it's always
I
Chicago.
did,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Still connectivity to Chicago, and then New York, which always remains the primary spoke of, the economic that fuels the economy here
Yeah.
in the country. And like Tara had mentioned, we're very excited that we just signed our first songwriter and artist over in London. That's part of our strategy on our music publishing side, is to go international. And so we're very excited about having signed a super crazy talented young woman a couple of months ago, and we're super pumped to have her aboard with us on the music side. And then we have a big investment over in a project that's based over in Israel as well, in the music and entertainment and doc series industries. So that first season of the doc series has been picked up by Paramount Plus for that project, and that's coming out this June. So we're very excited about that as well. So yeah, so we really cross state lines, and we're crossing over the big pond to go overseas as well.
Is, is the music publishing business hard?
Very. Yeah, it's a we're coming up on 5 years of Edge Hill Music Publishing. This August will be 5 years that Tara and I started it. And we knew nothing about it whatsoever when we jumped in. So certainly made some mistakes and had some early on
Of course.
failures and setbacks, but we feel a really good spot today in terms of our roster, and the woman who runs our publishing company is absolutely phenomenal. And But it's a hard business, and it is a very competitive business, and the landscape of how music is distributed nowadays,
Really changed.
and how it's all changed, and it's really very much a game of numbers. It's like playing the lottery in so many respects. It still is about relationships. There's no
Yeah.
question. At the core, it's about talent and it's about relationships. But even with some of the highest level relationships and wonderful talent, it's still a game of numbers, and it's like going to the horse track, frankly, or going to Vegas and playing roulette, because so much new music is coming out every
So
single
fast.
day,
Yeah.
so much content, and the way that you get paid back as a publisher, or as important, if not more important, as a songwriter or a producer, or an artist, is they've really gotten squeezed, over as music has evolved. And so it's a tough business. It's one that is not meant to be a success overnight
Not
by
quick,
any stretch.
get rich quick. Yeah.
Yeah, it is not. So you have to have some staying power in it.
Minimally like a decade, actually, they say. I think it is, because you're investing in a human and a person and who they are. It's not like you're going on buying a piece of real estate and it's like the assets are the songs,
Yeah.
and you're hoping that somebody's gonna scoop them up and want to perform them. So you're investing in that person to begin with, because you have to believe in that person, and then that person is to crank out music, and then you invest in that, like that catalog of music. So it's a long-term thing when you think about how many people out there that are creating music every
There's a
single
lot.
day, all day long, and then able to put it out, like, and the form of music now that is played is, basically it's streamed. So like there's thousands and thousands and thousands of things being put out all the time. Somebody could just do it from their computer, right? So
Yeah.
it's a long-term game in it. But for our publishing company, which is different, is, again, we're not looking to build ours so our roster is ginormous. We're not competing with the big companies like a Sony or Warner and anything. We really keep it very family based. We keep it small. The woman that runs it, Julia, who is just one of the best in this industry, she's an incredible woman. And she's very particular in who we bring on. She doesn't want anyone feel like they're competing with another person. They all have their own lane. So she gives them all very, very close attention, and has a relationship with them. And because, again, if we're believing in the person, it's there's you're really giving them everything that you can to try to believe and push
Yeah.
for them.
Steve Stevens, the guitarist from Billy Idol, I had him on the show, and he actually wrote my little theme song. And I said, hey, my daughter was thinking about getting in the music business. He goes, convince her otherwise.
Yeah, right. Right. It's like going to law school or going to medical school nowadays as
It's
well.
hard.
Yeah, it's a tough business. It's a really, really nuanced business that, even when you talk to the top of the top music and entertainment
Oh,
lawyers,
really?
if you will, no one still to this day, I don't think even fully understands how music publishing works. It's crazy. It's really, it is. I've had the good fortune of being able to look at, be involved, diligence a whole bunch of different businesses and industries across my career, not just in real estate and cannabis, but this is by far and away right at the top of the most nuanced business, music publishing, that I've ever come across.
That's why I was asking about it because I started thinking about it, like, God, it's got to be, I think it sounds cool, but then you're literally waiting for lightning in a bottle and then,
You are waiting for lightning in a bottle. Yeah,
And
you
you
are.
want these
soundtrack movie.
like all of these people to succeed, right? Like, you believe in they're talented and they have great stories and you watch one person after another and you're like, they have to win, so like
Yeah,
you're cheering them on, but like it's hard. It's very hard. It's a needle in the haystack.
that's pretty awesome though. Hey, maybe I could use one of Low Cash's song for this
There
There
you
you
go.
go.
episode.
There you
There
go.
you go.
Great, great guys.
They're the best.
Very talented. Very,
Uh,
very talented
uh,
guys.
do people like do movies have to get clearances from the publishing? Is that how that works?
Yeah, they
So,
do. Yeah, they do. So yeah, sync. We also have an investment in a sync company. We were some seed capital in a company called Academy Fight Songs, where we partnered with two groups out of
okay.
New York, longstanding companies in the sync business, in the custom music business. So yeah, but so we're in the film and TV placement business for music as well, which is a separate and aside from Edgehill Music Publishing. But yeah, they'll have to get clearance to be able to use your music.
So I've already got a verbal okay to use a quick
Yeah, there you
10-second
go,
clip
right?
on Low
Got to
Cash.
forget it from the boys too.
Well,
There's so many different people that are involved in all that.
that's the easy part. And they brought a Mike Love Jr. bike, so they sign autographs in my booth every year at the rodeo in Vegas.
Yeah.
And when we first started with them, they weren't their songs hadn't hit yet. So like they would sit there and just talk to me for an hour because now there's lines waiting.
Yeah.
Now it's
Sure,
crazy. But yeah,
sure. Yeah, wonderful guys.
yeah. So
Yeah, wonderful guys.
I'm gonna wrap this up, but what's next?
It's a great question.
We got to open this bar. We're going to open Bon Jovi
After
bar.
JBJ, come on, that's 3-4 months.
Yeah,
I don't know, Josh, you might need a nap.
yeah,
So I don't know.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. After we sold our cannabis company, I wasn't supposed to do any of this, man. But the pandemic hit, so
Yeah.
I knew nothing but working, and all of a sudden we look up 4 years later, and we have a whole bunch of stuff going on. I think looking forward, we've made a series of investments, and into different industries that we mentioned and touched upon, the last 3 or 4 years. And I think that we'll see a bunch of those hopefully come to fruition, this year, next year, the year after,
Yeah.
24, 25, 26. I do think, and I do know that, we won't just turn it off completely. We have some requirements, from different artists and entertainers, to maybe do some other hospitality locations, whether they be in Nashville or Las Vegas or Miami, or some other markets around the country. Um, so I think, we'll get our feet underneath us on these three. We'll
Sure.
have 300 employees in our hospitality company
Overnight.
by
Yeah.
June of this year. Yeah, real fast. And so that's a real business. Overnight, we'll take a deep breath, and, we'll continue to build out our professional sports platform in the NFL and Major League Baseball. We'll probably get into the NBA, maybe professional soccer. So, and music and entertainment, and we'll keep picking. We'll find some
So
we'll
in other
find some
words, Tara, he's not
opportunities.
slowing down.
He's going to slow down for a minute. Yeah, he has to slow down for a minute. So there's a little self-care that has to come into play. Yeah, that
he's a
this year.
workaholic.
So I
Yeah.
Our
enjoy
family,
it.
our family
we all enjoy
And
work.
all of us are workaholics.
Yeah, not just me, our family.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Tara has done a masterful job of creating a beautiful culture here at Big Plan
Sure.
Holdings, and is a wonderful networker. She runs our custom cowboy hat making company, amongst many, many other things. And our daughters are, getting into the ages of where, I would still like for us to be able to work enough to keep them busy and engaged enough to, hopefully be able to pass the baton off to them at some point if they so choose to want it. But if not, then we'll pull back and kind of just play it out and see. And there's probably some more stuff in the hopper that
Probably.
yeah, I would imagine.
That's pretty much a guarantee. So
Yeah.
at some point we'll have to do another show or a follow-up when after JBJ or something
Yep.
or the
Love
next
it.
big announcement that you can't tell anybody about.
Yeah.
We would love it.
Would love it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. JBJ's is set to open, call it end of May, top of June. And
Good
right
time
in
to
time for
open.
yeah, oh
Oh
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
We'll be open, man. Lights up. It better be open by then. So but yeah, and right in time for CMA Fest, which
Yeah.
is obviously a very big weekend in Nashville, and hit the top of the tourism market. And yeah, so yeah, would love to follow up with you if interested on your
Yeah.
side and give you a little play-by-play for what we're doing. So
So is John going to be there for a few nights or?
We don't really know their schedule. They're not like there's no definitive on any of that.
Yeah. Well, that's just like the opening. You want I'll tell you offline. I had a friend that opened up a thing in downtown Nashville, and it was delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed
oh yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah,
delayed.
it happens. You never know until like that, almost legitimately the day before the day. Now having opened two of the three of them,
Yeah.
you really don't know until the day before the day of, even
Yeah.
when you have final sign off from the city
We
that
had
you can
soft
actually.
openings. We were gonna drive out in our RV and spend a week out there. And it was my wife's best friend's husband opening up a theater in downtown, and it was like,
Uh-huh.
oh, it's not happening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
May
it's
turned to
tough.
October, turned to December, turned to next September.
Right,
Well, and then
right.
I interviewed Emmett Smith, who has his own issues of the Emmett restaurant in Las Vegas. That was supposed to open a year and a half ago.
And that's still not open?
Oh
Is
no,
that? Oh, really? Okay, I haven't
lawsuits and
followed
everything else.
followed that. Really? Yeah, yeah. So we're
Well,
yeah.
we're going forward. We're opening. We're gonna open.
Yeah.
There isn't. We're not like we
I'm
don't
not
have plan
jinxing
B
it. I'm just
here.
saying.
Yeah, we don't have plan B. This is gonna happen.
Yeah, I
Right.
got you. I got you. Well, best of luck. Thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you so
having
much for
us.
having us.
Much appreciated.
I'll
And
definitely
check back
stay
in.
in
And if
touch.
you are in Nashville, come visit us.
If you come to LA, pretty close.
Well, we will.
We will.
We will absolutely
We would
hit you
love
up
that.
the next
Thank
time
you.
out there.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Appreciate it.